Dallas. What's up, everybody? You're back in here, Pro Football Pod. We're hanging out with you. You've got Hulk, you've got Coach. Go ahead, subscribe, hit that notification bell up there for us. Once we hit 500 subscribers, we're giving away a free jersey of your choice. Cowboys fans, this video is for you. We've got the Cowboys free preview here. I would love to give away a CD Lamb jersey, maybe a Dak Prescott jersey for you. We'll throw it back. We'll give you, maybe look into a Dion if you want a custom jersey that says all in on the back, because Jerry says you guys are all in this year.
Oh, everyone hates that.
Coach is throwing up the X. Get a Des Bryant jersey. We don't care. Hey, tell your friends. Do it. Subscribe for us. Let's go ahead and dive in. We've got the Cowboys preview here.
So, just a question for you. In your opinion, does going all in mean adding Zeke Elliott back from New England? Because that's the only player that they've added to this team besides the draft.
I knew the Cowboys hadn't added much in the offseason, but other than the draft, obviously. But until I really got into doing my notes for this, I had no idea they added so little.
Literally
Zeke. Literally, that's it. They, if you even go to PFF and pull up their off-season additions, Jordan Lewis is the only one that's on the additions, and he's re-signed. He wasn't even added. He just was still on the team already.
And they also lost some talent. I mean, Dante Fowler Jr., he was okay. He didn't do too much for them.
Jonathan Hankins. Now, Tony Pollard, Tyler Biadasz,
and Tyron Smith.
And I mean Michael Gallup. However you feel about him.
About Michael Gallup.
But to me, that offensive line took such a hit this year.
Yeah. Now, in a lot of ways, getting Tyler Guyton
love what they brought in the draft.
Cooper Beebe helped a lot. I loved
Cooper Beebe.
Yeah.
I was all about the Beebe in the draft. Obviously, if the Dolphins were going to move up into the third, that's who I was targeting there for him. I like Marshawn Nealon as well. Marshawn Nealon is uber athletic of a guy, and to give them some type of presence outside of Micah Parsons and add to that pass rush, I do like that addition, as well as bring in Maris Liafu, the linebacker.
Because we didn't put it in their loss, but they also had what's his name retire, the middle linebacker, white guy. Oh
yeah, correct. Leighton Vander Esch.
Yeah, he retired.
Yeah, he's had major neck injuries the last couple seasons anyway, so it's honestly kind of better for him. So for me, this is one of those to where when you see. Go back and watch our Eagles video. Go back and watch our Giants videos. If you hit that notification bell and you subscribe, you'll be able to get those whenever we drop them. We mentioned how both of those teams got better. We haven't got into the Commanders yet, but I think they probably got better. So for me, I'm looking at the Cowboys doing this while everybody else is doing this in the division. Now, I still think they're good enough to finish second in the division. I don't think they lost that much talent, but there's still a lot of questions with this team. And I mean, Dak, it's his last year before he absolutely gets to hit 100% free agency.
Yep.
And I think he's going to do that anyways, just to go out there and get the money that he can try to get one last time. So for me, it's you mentioned it. It does all in mean adding virtually nothing to this team to improve them?
Yeah, it's almost like it was a joke to him, dude. It kind of pisses me off. The fact that he said those words and then did nothing. Because everyone expected, okay, he's going to go all in. So he's going to pick up a solid number 2 receiver. They missed
out on Jonathan Brooks at running back and just decided we're just not going to take a running back.
Yeah.
Nope, he was the only one we were taking.
And there were so many that were available to them. And after Jonathan Brooks was taken.
Now, reportedly, they were targeting Jalen Wright before the Dolphins traded up and snagged him.
Nice.
But again, you only had 2 running backs on your board out of 7 or 8 potential solid guys.
Yeah.
that's my thing is like you don't just take any swings like, hey, let us bring Zeke back and we're just gonna pay him basically what our dead money is for him anyways after we let him go.
Yep.
Like if Zeke would have stayed in Dallas and never left, he'd be playing the last year of his contract that he already had with them.
Who was the guy that the Packers took? Lloyd? No. What was his?
Marshawn Lloyd, yep.
Marshawn Lloyd. They had the opportunity to take him, and that's when they took. I think it was when they took
They
Cooper
could have
Beebe.
taken. I would have loved Braylon Allen in this offense. Like, are you
Yes.
kidding me? Like
Yes.
Trey Benson, like somebody, dude. Like that's my thing. Like Cooper Beebe could very well come in and maybe play center for him, just because that's probably where their interior offensive line dictates that he goes.
Yeah.
They have Udoga on the outside as well as Terrence Steele. So where does Tyler Guyton go? I don't know if Tyler Guyton necessarily starts day one. He is a raw offensive tackle,
And I don't
but
really want
the
my
projections and the ability are there.
Yeah, I don't want my offensive linemen starting day one anymore. Like, unless they're a top 5, top 10 pick, I want them to have some time to develop a little
My
bit.
favorite move is to take an offensive tackle, unless he's like a Joe Alt
Yes.
or an Olu Fashanu type guy, to where they are an offensive tackle. They are ready to go. If they're not ready to go week one, I love the route of putting him on the inside at
Yep.
guard
And then
next to a
letting him move
veteran
out.
offensive tackle. And we see it so many times in the NFL when teams do this. They have a veteran tackle, they take the rookie tackle or the young guy and put him at guard, let him learn, get his feet under him. And sometimes they end up just staying at guard because they become so efficient. Zach Martin was an offensive tackle in college. His whole thing was didn't allow any sacks in college, like nothing like that. Moves to guard, and he absolutely, because that's where he was profiled, has dominated at the NFL level every year that he's been healthy.
Now we mentioned when we did the Eagles video some of the value that you'd be able to get off of this team. Obviously, if you have a top 2 pick anywhere in the top 2, I'm taking CeeDee Lamb. He's my number 1 player off the board. With them losing Michael Gallup, CeeDee Lamb is going to get fed the ball more consistently than any other player in the NFL this year. He is one of the few top tier players that is also keeping his quarterback from last year. Justin Jefferson is dealing with a rookie. Like Tyreek Hill is another year older. He's got Jalen Waddle on his heels. A lot of these guys, they have to deal with some sort of issue. CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott are together again,
And it's the way they manufacture touches for him as well. He
Yes.
gets it out of the backfield. He lines up in the backfield and gets swing passes.
Yep.
He'll get screens. They run drag routes with him, go routes. He gets post corners. His playbook. He is, if you play Madden, he is the guy that you have an entire route tree for. Every audible you can think of, you can do it with CeeDee Lamb because that's how they use him.
Yep.
Get the ball in his hands. And I agree. I think he's a guy, he's easily looking at 12 targets minimum per game this year.
Yeah, I mean, he could get 180,
And with
200 targets.
with the new kickoff rules, he could become a guy there as well. We've seen him be effective in the punt return game. Now, do you want to put your star receiver and your best player on kick return?
Whenever
Probably
you've got
not.
guys like Dowdle, you've got other athletes
But
back there too.
I'm gonna love to see the situations though where it's 24 seconds on the clock. You need a good kick return or a solid return. It's the end of the game. Put somebody back there like CD or somebody, your best athlete, and just let them try to make a play. It's better than going out there and just taking a knee and trying to get a Hail Mary out of it.
I don't know if we've seen a disparity between 2 receivers on the same offense and ADP like we have between Lamb and Cooks. 1 to 61, like that's such a freaking difference. And it's because of the value that Lamb has. Now, at the same exact time, Dak Prescott in the 6th round is such a fucking steal. I get to get 5 star players in the first 5 rounds. I get to get 3 or 4 receivers, take a running back in the 5th, take Dak in the 6th, and then just go running back for the next 3 picks because I don't need to worry about my other positions. I love that. I love that so much. So Dak is absolutely a target for me this year in redraft leagues.
Played all 17 games, 4,500 yards, 36 touchdowns, 9 interceptions. Absolutely improved on his 2022 season.
Yep,
Like
he won
without a
people
doubt
leagues.
improved.
Like he won
Well, his
championships for people.
2022 season, he played 12 games, and our whole discussion was led the league in interceptions or was second in the league. Way too many, 13, 14 interceptions in 12 games played. It was insane. So to see that 36-9 ratio there, 4,500 yards, played all 17, gave you 242 on the ground as well as 2 touchdowns there. Like, yeah, like if I can fill out my lineup and snag Dak in the 6th round, I'm absolutely doing that, especially whenever you look at the quarterbacks around him in that area. Again, by that 6th round, you should have 2 receivers, 1 to 2 running backs, maybe a tight end, something of those combinations there, right? So by the time you do get to the 6th round, you're looking at possibilities of Joe Burrow, Jordan Love, Dak, Kyler Murray, Brock Purdy, and then there's a drop off to Jared Goff. Like, so yeah, I absolutely am picking Dak Prescott up in the 6th round versus waiting on one of those guys behind him.
Yep.
Kyler, you can make an argument for because of the rushing ability he does bring you.
That's it.
And
I want 4,500 yards and 40 touchdowns. I'm down with that.
For all we know, Kyler to Marvin Harrison Jr. this year could be Dak to CD, not necessarily of that, but maybe the Kmart version of that. So,
and both of them you get to take later. I mean, you make a good point in that if I can't get CD and I get Marvin, and then I see Dak there, I might wait another round and pick up a Kyler. But if I can get CD Lamb, then I'll get Dak in the 5th round.
I'm also, if I get CD Lamb, I'm 1,000% stacking him with Dak.
Yep, every time.
At the bye week, honestly, you can have the win. Like, I'll set my roster and do what I can there, but even if I lose, I don't care because I'm going to put up 50 points between those 2 players every week.
And Dak he's been overdrafted the last few years because he's such a passing monster. Last year, I had CD Lamb and I had Tua. And Tua was phenomenal from a fantasy perspective because of his efficiency and just like what he was doing last year. I was still actively trying to trade Tua for Dak. As a Dolphins fan, I was like, yeah, let me get that combo. If I can get that,
that's why you're a good fantasy manager, because you take the bias out of it and you're focused on your team.
My wins. I'm trying to win some ships. Get them trophies.
That's why if I do typically take Dolphins players outside of, like Tyreek Hill or Tua, if I wait on a quarterback, and this goes for any fans of any team. If you're a Cowboys fan, this goes for you too. I prefer taking like the bench guys, like the low rated tight end, like the second running back or a low rated running back 1. Like, I prefer taking those guys so that way if they do just kind of chill on my bench, it's like I'm just keeping track of you, just seeing what you're doing week to week, seeing how's it going. How's the family? Do you need anything? No, we're probably not putting you in the lineup this week, so just hold your horses. But hey, we're here. We're gonna get you a ring. That's what we're doing. We're working towards the ship here.
Exactly.
So, now, how do you feel though about Cooks' value in the 14th round, or better yet, Zeke's value in the 12th, or Rico Dowdle's value in the 14th round as well?
If I get Zeke, I'm expecting him to be a touchdown machine, similar to the way that he was last year. I think that he will get volume a lot more than he got in New England because that's part of why they brought him home. Part of why they brought him home is that they're already paying him, so why not bring him home? They let Tony Pollard go because Tony Pollard had a horrible season before injuries became a concern. He just wasn't stepping it up. It sucks that they let Zeke go last year because If they would have had both of them again, I think that Tony Pollard could have had a good season. He obviously just wasn't ready to be the number one running back in that system, but he was so good as the pass catching back. I think that Zeke at 40th running back, 127th overall, is, if I have needed running back still, I'm gonna take him in the 12th. He's the number one rated running back, but I have to take Dowdle. I'll take him 12th, 13th. I'll overdraft Dowdle to make sure that I get both of them.
I'm not touching the Dallas backfield. And I fully agree with you there on the Zeke train of he very well could come back and get you double digit touchdowns like he did in 2022 and 2021. But for me, I look at it as he's averaged 3.8 yards per carry and 3.5 the last 2 seasons.
He's not a volume back anymore. Like I said, he's more touchdown dependent. But in the 12th round, I'm okay with that. And with them having Lamb, they're obviously going to spend a lot of time in the red zone. They're going to spend a lot of time close to touchdowns compared to New England. Last year, he had how many touchdowns? And he was the number 2 running back on that team. I think that I'm not going to not touch him.
Last year, he had 642 yards, 3 touchdowns, averaged 3.5 a carry. 2022, whenever he was still with Dallas, kind of sharing that role with Tony Pollard, 876 yards, 12 touchdowns, 3.8 yards per carry.
I think that's what we could expect from him this year. Not the 800 yards, but the 10 plus touchdowns.
And more of a featured role, I think he could get you the 800 because he only had 184 carries last year compared to 237, 231, 244, 301. So that's the thing with Zeke is you can look and clearly see the drop off is there. But I do like the value he brings you in the 12th round.
Yeah, this is a top 5 offense, potentially the best offense in football because of 2 players, which makes it very hard to rely on. But if you're not even having to rely on those 2 players, now, if you don't get Dak or Lamb, that's when I want Zeke.
What you just mentioned there, though, by taking Dak or taking CD. Now, CD with this scenario doesn't scare me as much. But because they are so reliant on those 2 players at this point.
Injury.
Exactly. And you have to take that out when drafting for the most part, unless there's a history there. Just because that goes the same for basically every team, right?
Yep.
What does it do for Kelsey if Mahomes go down? We've seen what it does for Tyreek and Waddle when Tua goes down. So I'm kind of putting my foot in my mouth there. But when it comes for Dak almost terrifies me more than CD does with that factor of, God forbid something happens to CD. Who does Dak have to give him that fantasy relevance? Brandon Cooks, we've seen it. He is a solid wide receiver. He is a solid option. But if he has to become your featured guy,
they didn't get better at their receiving core. I hate Michael Gallup.
Anaya Smith and they were the Eagles. That's the thing too is Dallas didn't really add anybody to their wide receiver room. So their full wide receiver room, as far as their depth chart goes at this point right now, it's sitting at CD Lamb, Brandon Cooks, and then behind them they've got Jalen Tolbert, Jalen Brooks. They've Kevontae Turpin, which is kind of
Turpin's been decent for them.
Turpin's got some wheels on him. Turpin can be used and be an absolute force.
I wouldn't be drafting him, but I'd be paying attention to him for sure.
Now Jake Ferguson, though, let's round that out for our ADP with Jake Ferguson being the number 10 tight end, 91 overall.
I like the value. I'm willing to draft the Jake Ferguson. If he was a top 8 tight end and he was going in the 7th round, I might be willing to wait on a Dallas Goedert, even though there's an injury history. But with Ferguson, he obviously was getting targeted a lot last year. He's shown that he's willing to play within that system. He really is the second pass catcher to CeeDee Lamb. And, I mean, to get him so late, like, even if I have Lamb, I might take Ferguson still. Like, I might go Dak, Ferguson, Lamb, and be okay with that at those three positions.
If you were to pass on Ferguson, you're looking at David Njoku, Brock Bowers, Dallas Goedert, TJ Hawkinson, Dalton Schultz, Cole Kmet.
The only other ones that I would even want would be Hawkinson and Schultz. Those are the only two that like I would want.
And Hawkinson, he's gonna miss the first chunk of the season coming back from that injury there. Yeah. So that's where I agree with you on. I'm fully okay with pulling the trigger on Ferguson there in the 8th or the 9th round because all those others guys have significant targets ahead of them.
Yes, exactly.
So, like, Njoku, he's got Amari Cooper. They just brought in Jerry Jeudy. You've got Elijah Moore there. Nick Chubb's going to get fed coming back.
Even Hawkinson is kind of scary because he's got both Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison.
Now, rookie quarterback factor.
Yeah.
Agreed. Or Sam Darnold. But still, like, Hawkinson does have value there for me. So, but I would be okay because at that point, you've already got your starting line. If you don't have your starting lineup set by the 8th round, I don't know how to help you.
Yeah, for real.
Unless you're just absolutely waiting on a quarterback. I would love to take Ferguson in the 8th and then turn around 3 to 4 rounds later and take Hawkinson.
Yeah.
Like, I'd fully be okay with that. And I'm with you there on Schultz as well. It's just bringing in Stephon Diggs. Like,
there's obviously a lot of mouths.
There's so many mouths to feed there in
but
Houston.
That could also be a top 3 offense where
Ferguson and Evan Ingram and Njoku, like that section right there is probably my favorite section for value on tight ends. Yes. If you don't snatch one early.
Yep.
And out of those 3, I like Ferguson the most. So, looking at their ADP, the Cowboys sit at 10.5 wins. They have won 12 games each of the last 2 seasons. How you feel about that? They going over? They going under? What are you thinking there for them?
I think that they could squeeze out 11. I said that I think the Eagles get 12 wins because I think the Eagles win the division based off of like how the teams improved or got better or stayed the same. I think that the Eagles improved. I think that the Cowboys slightly got worse. Their offensive line is obviously going to be a huge question mark, and it's so important because CeeDee Lamb can get open on any route, but you really want him to work those like, you know, intermediate routes, and you need 2.5 to 3 seconds. If Dak can't get that, he's going to have a hard time. He's not going to be able to run around and be super mobile. That's never really been his game. So I think that in general, 11 wins is pushing it. I think that they can get it because they do still have the best young wide receiver matched up with his still quarterback.
Trevon Diggs is, set to come back next year.
Exactly. The defense is
the emergence of Deron Bland. You've got DeMarcus Lawrence, Micah Parsons. They brought in Eric Kendricks to play linebacker for him there. I know you love that. I like what they have. I'm going under, but just by a half. Like, I feel good with 10 wins for them.
Yeah.
Anything over that with this team just virtually not improving, it's hard for me to commit to anything over that. And Dallas Cowboys fans, I love your passion. I know you're going to get at me in the comments here. Go ahead. I respect it. Show it to us. Like, we've got to be able to see it. Like, go ahead and get over that hill. Y'all need something to actually have the chance of, tooting your horn about. Subscribe for us. 500 subscribers. We're going to give away a free jersey of your choice. Hit that notification bell up there in the corner. We love you guys. TulsiRoseT.com is the sponsor. At ProFootball_pod on Twitter. Go ahead and give us a shout out. We love you. Peace out. We them boys.